I'm a great salesperson. That's how I got rich. A line you'll hear from thousands of successful founders, influencers, and entrepreneurs. It's a compelling claim. And often, it's fundamentally misleading. In the world of business success, the halo of sales mastery is worn generously by many who have never truly learned to cold call, handle genuine objections, manage a complex pipeline, or build a forecastable funnel. Many claiming to have sold their way to the top were actually lifted by luck, timing, market momentum, or privilege more than skill. The uncomfortable truth? Many of these individuals would struggle to replicate their success if forced to start from scratch today, despite their confident assertions otherwise. This is not a critique. It's an excavation of truth that's long overdue. The difference between sales exposure and sales mastery. Let's start with clear definitions. Being exposed to sales, pitching to investors, manning a convention booth, or closing a handful of strategic partnerships is fundamentally different from being a world-class salesperson. True sales mastery means you can consistently generate pipeline in cold markets. Hitting the trenches, carrying a bag, and facing constant rejection challenges even the toughest professionals. This daily grind requires exceptional resilience and persistence over years. Diagnose buyer pain and craft tailored solutions. This comes from experience, intuition, people-reading skills, attention to unspoken cues, analytical thinking, and deep knowledge of both your products and competitor offerings. Navigate objections, delays, and budget constraints. Even sales champions need boundless patience and financial acumen to address decision-maker hesitations and overcome obstacles to progress. Forecast accurately and close under pressure. Success requires strategic planning and adaptability while delivering results against targets that often extend beyond your direct control. Build lasting, high-value relationships across buying committees. These connections depend on trust, which can only be established through demonstrated competence and consistent delivery on promises. Most founders or influencers who proclaim sales greatness never did this at scale or under quota. Instead, their pitch got a warm welcome due to external factors. A hot market trend. Their product launched precisely when industry demand peaked, allowing them to ride a wave of interest that had little to do with their sales approach. The favorable timing meant customers were actively seeking solutions like theirs, dramatically lowering the typical sales resistance. A first-mover advantage. They entered an uncontested market space with minimal competition, creating artificial scarcity that drove demand. Without established alternatives, buyers had few points of comparison, making objection handling and competitive differentiation virtually unnecessary. Celebrity or brand halo. Their personal reputation or company brand recognition opened doors that would remain firmly closed to unknown sellers. This pre-existing trust and curiosity bypassed the credibility-building phase that constitutes the hardest part of true sales work. Virality or investor buzz. External validation from notable investors or organic word of mouth created demand that pulled customers toward them rather than requiring active pursuit. This artificial momentum created a self-reinforcing cycle where each new customer attracted more attention, creating a false impression of sales prowess. These are amplifiers of success, not evidence of sales mastery. The underrated role of luck, timing, and tailwinds. 1. Market timing. One of the most thoroughly researched business advantages is launching in the right market at precisely the right time. A Harvard Business School study by Noam Wasserman found that market timing explains 42% of startup success variance, significantly more than team quality, idea originality, or product execution. Mark Andreessen, co-founder of A16Z, famously observed, "The number one company killer is lack of market. You can screw up everything else, and if you're in a good market, you'll still succeed." Example. Zoom didn't succeed merely because Eric Yuan was a master of B2B sales. It succeeded because he launched just in time for the remote work explosion, scaling with an unprecedented global tailwind. 2. Network and access. Many wealthy individuals had privileged access to capital, mentors, or early customers before they ever perfected a sales pitch. 77% of startup founders had personal savings or family money to self-fund their early ventures. There are exceptions, of course, but privilege often creates opportunity. According to a Crunchbase study, founders from elite universities have 3 times the probability of securing funding. If someone's first sales pitch was to their Harvard roommate or their parents' venture capital connection, that's not sales genius. That's privileged proximity to resources. 3. Media and hype cycles. In today's digital economy, the most effective sales technique might simply be algorithm manipulation. Many influencers grew wealthy by mastering attention economics, not buyer-centric sales methodologies. Example, the NFT boom of 2021. Thousands sold projects, but the real catalyst was hype, artificial scarcity psychology, and speculative mania. Where are those self-proclaimed sales stars now that the bubble has deflated? Why sales skills still matter, but don't always drive wealth. Make no mistake, real sales skills matter. They accelerate progress, help you turn demand into dollars, and create repeatable, scalable outcomes. But they are not what make people rich in isolation. In fact, many of the best quota-carrying salespeople, the kind who can sell software into enterprises or close complex 1M plus deals, are not the ones who go on to become wealthy founders or celebrities. Why? Because they don't always own equity. Elite salespeople often trade ownership for predictable compensation. Take Laura, a top enterprise sales executive at a major SaaS company who consistently exceeds her $5 million annual quota and earns impressive commissions of $400K plus. Despite her sales prowess, her wealth ceiling is dramatically lower than early employees with significant equity who might be mediocre sellers but joined when the company was valued at $10 before it grew to $10. They don't always time the market. Even exceptional sellers can't control market timing. Consider Jack, who spent years masterfully selling on-premise data center solutions to Fortune 500 companies, building deep relationships and closing 8-figure deals. Despite his skill, when cloud computing disrupted the industry, his expertise became less valuable overnight, while relatively inexperienced founders who positioned early cloud startups captured massive market value regardless of their selling abilities. The market cares only about now. Yesterday's expertise rarely matters. They don't build virality or scalable distribution. Many top salespeople excel at high-touch, relationship-driven selling, but don't create self-propagating systems. Take Tom, who spent 15 years becoming one of the best pharmaceutical sales representatives in his region, consistently ranking #1 in his district by building trust with physicians and hospitals. Meanwhile, the founders of PharmaRx built a platform that spread through word of mouth and network effects, scaling to millions of users without requiring an army of elite salespeople. And they rarely get media spotlight. The media celebrates visionary founders, not sales execution. Tina is among the top 1% of commercial real estate brokers globally, having closed over $2 billion in transactions throughout her career through disciplined prospecting and relationship management. Yet few outside her industry know her name, while well-funded PropTech founders with limited sales experience become industry celebrities by pitching a disruptive vision, regardless of their ability to execute the complex sales that Tina masters daily. Consider Barbara Corcoran. She was already a successful entrepreneur before Shark Tank, but her brand grew exponentially due to media exposure once she joined the show. The Dunning-Kruger effect of sales. The Dunning-Kruger effect, a cognitive bias where people with limited ability overestimate their competence, runs rampant in sales narratives. When people become successful, they often attribute their wins to skills they value or admire, even if they didn't truly possess them. They think they sold their way to success. In truth, they often just rode the wave better than others. This creates a distorted feedback loop. They promote sales as their superpower. Successful founders frequently rewrite their origin stories to emphasize their persuasive prowess. A founder whose SaaS product gained traction through perfect market timing might later claim they outmaneuvered competitors through superior sales techniques, when in reality they simply had the right product at the right moment. Like the tech founder who launched an AI tool just as ChatGPT exploded in popularity, they retroactively frame their success as masterful selling rather than fortunate positioning. This selective memory creates a misleading narrative that downplays external factors and luck while overemphasizing personal skill. Others mimic their superficial behaviors. Aspiring entrepreneurs study these success stories and copy visible traits, rather than understanding underlying dynamics. They adopt the confident speaking style, the networking approach, or the closing techniques of successful founders without recognizing these weren't the actual drivers of success. This creates generations of entrepreneurs doing cargo cult sales, mimicking the rituals without understanding the substance. For example, countless SaaS founders have copied Salesforce's enterprise sales playbook without understanding that Salesforce's timing in the cloud transition was equally critical to their success as their sales methodology. Real sales craft gets lost in the noise. The nuanced, difficult work of true sales mastery, prospecting in cold markets, handling complex objections, building value through consultative approaches, becomes overshadowed by simplified founder sales hacks that promise quick results. The methodical skill development that elite quota carriers spend years perfecting gets reduced to motivational soundbites and superficial techniques. For instance, the disciplined account planning process that enterprise sellers use to navigate 18-month sales cycles gets condensed into 5 email templates that close deals fast, creating a fundamental misunderstanding of what effective selling actually requires in challenging environments. What actually makes sales superstars? Want to know what really separates elite sales performers from the rest? It's not charm. It's not closing energy. It's not being loud on LinkedIn. It's the consistent, disciplined execution of the following. Pipeline discipline, creating opportunities weekly, not occasionally. The hallmark of elite salespeople is their unwavering commitment to consistent prospecting regardless of current deal flow. They maintain strict daily cadences for outreach even during busy closing periods, knowing that today's pipeline activities determine next quarter's results. For example, enterprise software reps at companies like Oracle maintain a 10-to-3-1 rule. 10 new conversations generate 3 qualified opportunities which yield 1 closed deal. This mathematical approach means they track leading indicators, conversations started, rather than just lagging indicators, deals closed, ensuring they never experience the feast or famine cycle that plagues less disciplined sellers. Strategic empathy, uncovering hidden buyer motivations. Top performers move beyond surface-level pain points to understand the personal and political drivers beneath the stated business needs. They recognize that the technical buyer's concern about implementation complexity might really be fear of career risk, or that the CFO's budget objection might mask concerns about ROI measurement. By mastering techniques like 5 levels of why questioning and stakeholder mapping, they uncover motivations buyers themselves may not fully articulate. A pharmaceutical sales rep might discover that a physician's reluctance to prescribe a new medication stems not from clinical concerns, but from anticipated patient pushback about insurance coverage, creating an opening for a completely different solution approach. Structured process, moving deals through defined stages with intention. Rather than hoping deals magically progress, sales masters establish clear criteria for each pipeline stage and methodically move opportunities forward through deliberate action plans. They define exit criteria for discovery calls, technical validations, and business case reviews, creating a repeatable framework rather than reinventing their approach with each prospect. This discipline allows them to accurately forecast outcomes and identify stalled deals early. Commercial real estate brokers who excel might use a structured tenant needs analysis framework that systematically covers 20 critical decision factors before ever showing properties, ensuring they don't waste time on mismatched options. Cross-functional coordination, aligning with marketing, finance, legal. Exceptional salespeople view themselves as orchestrators of resources rather than lone wolves. They proactively engage product specialists, involve legal teams early in contract discussions, collaborate with marketing on account-specific materials, and partner with customer success to ensure smooth handoffs. This coordination creates a seamless buyer experience and prevents last-minute surprises. An enterprise technology seller might hold weekly deal desk meetings with finance, solution architects, and implementation teams for critical opportunities, ensuring alignment across 8 to 10 functions that will touch the deal. Self-awareness, constantly improving based on feedback and data. True sales masters embrace brutal objectivity about their performance. They review call recordings to identify missed questions, analyze lost deals without ego, and seek patterns in their wins and losses. They don't attribute failures to external factors, but look for their own improvement opportunities. Many track personal metrics beyond company KPIs, measuring specific behaviors they've identified as success drivers. For instance, a SaaS account executive might track their question-to-statement ratio in discovery calls after noticing their win rate improves dramatically when they maintain a 70-30 question-to-statement balance. These practices remain invisible to most outsiders. That's why true sales superstars rarely become Twitter famous. But they build sustainable empires quietly and methodically. Why this myth matters? This isn't just semantic debate. Believing that success equals sales skills creates tangible consequences. Bad hiring. Companies hire charismatic closers with no process. Organizations frequently prioritize charisma and bravado over methodical selling skills during recruitment, creating fundamental weaknesses in their sales function. They're seduced by candidates who excel in interview settings with polished pitches and confident personalities, mistaking presentation skills for sales capability. A typical example is the SaaS startup that hires the smooth-talking seller from a category-leading competitor, assuming their past success will transfer, only to discover months later they lack the structured prospecting discipline to build pipeline from scratch. These charismatic hires often mask process deficiencies with relationship skills, but struggle when facing true resistance, or when selling in less favorable market conditions where rigorous qualification and objection handling become essential. Shallow training. Reps focus on hype instead of depth. Sales training increasingly emphasizes motivational content and tactical hacks over substantive skill development. New representatives spend hours consuming sales influencer content that promises quick results through psychological tricks or magic phrases, while neglecting foundational capabilities like financial acumen, industry knowledge, and systematic objection handling. For instance, pharmaceutical reps might dedicate time to rehearsing catchy product slogans rather than deeply understanding the clinical studies that would persuade skeptical physicians. This creates sales teams with surface-level capabilities that collapse when faced with sophisticated buyers who expect consultative expertise and depth. The result is high turnover when reps realize their superficial training hasn't prepared them for the complex reality of professional selling. Hype and tricks are often short-lived and dissipate the moment they face serious resistance. Misleading mentorship. Young founders mimic flawed models. Emerging entrepreneurs often pattern their selling approach after visible but ultimately unrepresentative success stories. They study how celebrity founders gained funding or early customers without recognizing the unique circumstances that enabled those outcomes. A first-time SaaS founder might adopt the provocative, disruptive sales style of a well-known tech billionaire, not realizing that approach worked primarily because of market timing and investor enthusiasm, rather than effectiveness with typical enterprise buyers. This creates a dangerous echo chamber of misattributed success, where aspiring entrepreneurs emulate tactics that worked in specific, favorable contexts, but fail in normal selling environments. Industry conferences and startup accelerators perpetuate these myths by highlighting outlier success stories without properly contextualizing the market conditions that enabled them. Beware what worked today may not work tomorrow. Study history, but think as if you are already in the future. Disappointment. Talented sellers think they failed because they're not famous. Highly skilled sales professionals often develop an inaccurate perception of their own success when comparing themselves to celebrated founders and influencers. A top-performing enterprise seller who consistently exceeds multi-million-dollar quotas through disciplined process and relationship building might question their abilities because they haven't achieved the visibility of founders with less actual sales skill. This distorted perception leads exceptional talent to abandon proven approaches in favor of flashier techniques that attracted attention for others. For example, a consistent top performer in medical device sales might abandon their methodical approach to emulate a celebrated founder's more aggressive style, only to see their results deteriorate. This crisis of confidence among truly skilled practitioners further dilutes organizational sales capability and perpetuates the cycle of valuing visibility over substantive results. A good piece of advice: don't follow shiny objects. They are not always gold. And worst of all, brilliant, under-the-radar sales professionals who manage pressure, quotas, and complex deals get ignored while surface-level success gets celebrated. The balanced perspective, yes, sales is a multiplier, but it only multiplies what you already have: a viable product, a real market, and a sustainable business model. Yes, many successful people are persuasive. But persuasion process. Yes, some wealthy people are legitimate sales masters. But many succeeded despite weak sales skills, not because of them. Let's stop worshiping the myth. Let's elevate the sales profession by doing the hard work and serving others in the same way we want to be served. Conclusion. If you want to know how good someone really is at sales, don't look at their wealth or follower count. Ask them to break down a buyer persona based on your current industry and market. Role-play a cold discovery call presenting a complex product service. Forecast a pipeline over Q3 in details: structure, expectancy, organization, progress management, etc. Handle a "your price point is too high in comparison to the offers we got from your competitors" objection. Listen without interruptions and take detailed notes. Rebuild momentum on a stalled deal. What is the plan? What is the thinking process behind every step, and what contingency options exist if things don't progress? That's where the truth lives.